Gonna try something a little different today. I got a 3-for-1 special for you. Starting with...
MicroMan.
I suppose this is Mega Man's distant nephew once removed? When I was little, we had CD compilations of freeware games and shareware games and legally questionable knockoffs. MicroMan came from one such compilation called Arcade 95. To be fair, there were some legit games in that collection, and this was... close to being one of them. I say close because this was made as a demo. A showcase of the capabilities of Windows Animation Package. You play as MicroMan and shoot your way through the inside of a computer, I guess. There's a few power-ups of varying usefulness, but weirdly they're all based on timers, not ammo supply. Power Shot does 4 times the damage, but it wears off before you can really make the most of it. Sure, I can use it to make short work of this robot, but I don't really need to. Your goal is not to kill all the enemies, but to make it to the end. Where's the end? Well, that's part of the puzzle. You need to find it. I like how open-ended it is, at least, letting you choose which way you want to go, but if you already know where the exit is, there's no real need to explore. Just get the power-ups you need, find the boss, kill it, and be on your way. Rather an anticlimax. Some of the power-ups don't even help at all with where they're positioned. The shield gives you no immediate threat down the intended path until it wears off, the fan shot, despite being the spread gun from Contra, isn't especially helpful, and the guided missiles... well, actually, those are really helpful for the boss. But again, this is meant to be a demo, and you can beat it in 5 minutes if you know what you're doing and don't get hurt too much, which is surprisingly difficult. You don't get any health power-ups, and you die in a handful of shots, so you need to be careful. And whatever you do not leave the screen before the final boss arena animation finishes, or the boss will respawn upside down with full health. You gotta love faulty programming. You might as well reset if this happens. The game is very light in the sound department. It's mostly silence, save for the sound of dealing or taking damage, destroying enemies, shooting and jumping if you turn on extended sounds, and the dev and his girlfriend or wife or whatever calling out the power-ups you pick up.
Fan shot!
These purple turrets are really annoying to deal with since you can only damage them at a certain time. But other than those, there's really not much in the way of enemy variety, save for that robot dog at the start, a couple more traditional robots, and the big robot tank that serves as the main boss. Dodging its guided missiles is a pain in the ass, so you really gotta bring guided missiles of your own, so you can focus on avoiding its attacks. If you can. Really, all you have to do is hold out long enough to kill it, then you can move on to the final area, if you can reach it. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's not even possible without Super Jump, so if you lose Super Jump, it's over. So go back for Super Jump, moon jump your way up there, and proceed through the final stretch. There's no enemies, just a couple platforming sections. If you fall, you die. So for the love of God, don't fall. And that's MicroMan. Not a very full game, but it wasn't trying to be. Why hasn't someone made a full version? If they have, why don't I know about it? Well, at least I know there's a full version of our next game. Kai is a charity game developed to benefit Save the Children. This is the shareware version, and the idea was that if you liked it, you'd donate to Save the Children, and the developer would send you more levels. I love the read, think, play, pay message down below. Reminds me of run, think, shoot, live. But hey, who came first now? It's an action puzzle game where you're tasked with collecting all the diamonds in the level. The first level lets you play around with the mechanics and see how everything behaves, then it throws you straight into the deep end. This is one of the most fiendish puzzle games I've ever seen. It is incredibly easy to screw yourself and render the level unwinnable. One wrong move, and you have to start all over again. Especially in any level with these balls called Rockies. They're directional, so whichever way the arrow points, that's where they're going. They also roll off of rounded surfaces, including each other, which means they can move in unpredictable ways and permanently block you off if you're not careful. And then there's the beasts. They all have different names, but they behave the same. And they're not very smart either, they mostly just make a beeline for you, obstacles be damned. If they make contact, they eat you and send you back to the start, which may softlock you. They move fast, but you can move faster. So instead of setting up an elaborate trap, you could just outrun them. You're not meant to, but what the hell's stopping you? But it's still much more fun to engage with the game's intended mechanics, because as fiendish as these puzzles are, they also get pretty creative. Look at this level. The best way to get the diamonds is to trap the beasts with the sliders, if you can get them to go the right way. Yeah, these direction changer blocks are not exactly indicative of which way the block is going to turn. The arrow seems to point clockwise, but it turns it counterclockwise. I kinda get what he was going for, but it's still a little confusing. There's some nice variety in these levels, and I was proud to figure out all of the solutions all by myself when I was a kid. At least, the ones that felt like actual puzzles and weren't down to just luck or guesswork. I always deflected blame at the game when I was little to cope with skill issue, but even now I can safely say this game has some bad levels. See those red barriers? Those are one-way doors. How do you know which way? You don't. Not until you try them. This can and will end in you getting stuck with no recourse other than to restart the level. This part I thought was impossible back then until I realized you could move diagonally. At no point in the rest of the game do you ever have to move diagonally. Then there's this level. Oh god. There are so many ways you can screw yourself on this one. You have no idea. And don't think I don't see you pausing the video to see if you have it figured out. Trust me, you don't. But the fun factor really unlocked when I found out how to use the game's level designer. You can make your own puzzles, or just build Rube Goldberg machines. There are more levels out there beyond this shareware version, especially since the developer made the game freeware back in 2008. He does still ask that you consider donating to a charity, though. Good on him for sticking to his principles. So that's Kai, a brilliant yet devilishly difficult puzzle game that I still can't reliably beat as a grown man. Last, but certainly not least, we have Lode Runner. Ever play a platformer where you can't jump? You can run, climb ladders, hang on beams, but you can't jump. So instead of jumping over your enemies, you outwit them, you outplay them, and you dig. Yeah, you don't jump over your enemies, you just walk over them. Collect load while avoiding enemies and your own stupidity. Collect all the load and the ladder to the next level is unlocked. This is an old game that dates back to the NES, and it's as addicting as ever. Just the fact you can't jump really changes the dynamic in a way you don't really see with many platformers, yet they made it work. Now it's worth noting, this is not the Lode Runner I played as a kid. For that, we must boot up Arcade 98. That sound alone just unlocked so many memories for me. In this collection of shareware and bootlegs, we have Lode Runner Live, a freeware recreation. It's got its own aesthetic, and notably, no audio at all. Back then, I had no clue the digging mechanic existed, so I was perplexed when I finally found out about it many years later. Yeah, a core game mechanic that I was completely oblivious to. The game didn't come with instructions, it just assumed you knew how to play. I didn't play the game proper because for me, it was more fun messing around with the level designer, and I even wrote up walkthroughs on how to beat them that no one but me would ever read. How far I've come since then, going from pretending to have an audience to pretending my actual audience still exists. But real talk, I do appreciate that you guys are enjoying these, and there will be more. I'm doing what I can to not be discouraged by the fact that my audience isn't as big as it used to be. All things considered, it's probably for the better. Meta commentary aside, I'm kind of amazed that I even put up with this level designer. It's so clunky and hard to use. And yet I still distinctly remember making some pretty decently fun levels. Well, fun for me anyway. I wasn't building these levels with the main game mechanics in mind, and if you did try to play them, you'd very easily be able to break them because I was using the blocks for aesthetic purposes, not for gameplay purposes. But those levels, and their accompanying walkthroughs, have been lost to time. But the game comes with 140 levels of its own, so I think you'll manage. I don't actually know how many of these are copies of the original game's levels, and how many of them are custom levels, but it'll keep you plenty occupied. I definitely had this game in the back of my mind when I was playing the trial version of Super Granny from Wild Tangent Games, which is functionally nigh identical to Lode Runner with some creative liberties taken. Well, that's about all there is to say about Lode Runner. If any of these games interest you, I've included links to play them in the description. It's astounding how easily entertained I was back then, but it comes with the territory. I may cover more of these smaller scale games in the future, but for now, stay tuned for the next full feature episode in this series where childhood nostalgia decides the material.